intro, a sun rising from the west.
History rarely witnesses a moment that not only changes the fate of a land, but also reshapes the soul of its people. One such moment emerged from the scorching sands of Basra, where a 17-year-old boy rose with a sword in hand and justice in his heart. His name was Muhammad bin Qasim. He wasn't just a warrior, he was a storm carrying the promise of order. He wasn't merely a conqueror, he was a messenger of justice. His mission was not to enslave, but to liberate. Not to destroy, but to uplift. This is the story of a young general who tore through deserts and palaces alike, not with cruelty, but with courage and compassion. A man whose footsteps in Sindh marked the beginning of Islam in South Asia, but whose heart kept beating for all humanity. Let's journey back to those sun-scorched battlefields, ancient riverbanks and trembling fortresses, where Muhammad bin Qasim carved his name not just in history, but in legacy. The march begins. In the year 695 AD, power pulsed through the streets of Basra. Among the noble Arab families, a young boy named Muhammad bin Qasim was sharpening more than just his sword. He was mastering the art of command, diplomacy, and discipline. At just 17, he was no ordinary youth. Then came the cry that would shake the caliphate. Muslim merchants' ships were raided near Sindh. Women and children were captured. The caliph, enraged, demanded justice. Armies were sent, but all failed, until Al-Hajjaj bin Yusuf summoned young Qasim. "You must not just conquer the land, you must restore dignity," Al-Hajjaj said. With a final farewell to his mother and a copy of the Quran close to his heart, Muhammad set off toward the Indian subcontinent. Not with the arrogance of war, but with the calm conviction of a man on a divine mission. He knew this wasn't merely about land. This was a battle for justice, faith, and the right to exist with honor. If this opening chapter stirred something within you, don't forget to like the story. Part 2, Crossing the Indus. The journey across Makran's desert and into Sindh was grueling, but Muhammad pressed on, reaching the city of Dabal, a fortified stronghold by the sea, guarded fiercely by Raja Dahir's forces. At the heart of Dabal stood a massive idol, believed to protect the city. Locals worshipped it, seeking divine aid. Qasim observed in silence, then declared, "Help is sought from the Creator, not from stone." The idol was taken down, and with it, a secret entrance to the fortress was revealed. The city fell, but not into flames. Instead of pillage, Qasim offered protection. Temples remained untouched, the local population unharmed. Taxes were lifted, courts of justice were established, even non-Muslims were allowed to freely practice their faith. The people were stunned, a general who not only wielded the sword but governed with grace. They began to see him not as an invader, but as a reformer. Dabal, once a symbol of resistance, now whispered a new name in the wind: Muhammad bin Qasim, the bringer of justice. If you believe true victory lies in mercy, leave a comment below and share your thoughts. Part 3, the clash with Dahir, 12th AD. The final reckoning was here. Raja Dahir, the proud ruler of Sindh, stood with an army of 50,000. Elephants thundered, war drums roared. Dahir believed his kingdom was impenetrable, but across the Indus, Muhammad bin Qasim stood unshaken. His soldiers were fewer, but their hearts burned with faith. The night before battle, Qasim addressed his army. "We are not here to dominate. We are here to deliver justice, fight for truth, not glory." At dawn, the earth shook with battle cries, swords clashed, arrows flew. Muhammad used his strategy, targeting Dahir's war elephant. Once it fell, Dahir's lines broke, panic spread, chaos swallowed the battlefield. Dahir fought bravely, but was struck down in the final moments. The banner of his kingdom, once towering, now lay in dust. But Qasim did not rejoice. There was no triumph in his voice, only silence. Because true victory isn't in death, but in delivering peace. If this battle moved you, and you believe the pen is mightier when held by the just, share this with someone who values justice.
Part 4,
The gateway of Islam. With Raja Dahir gone, Muhammad bin Qasim turned not to expansion, but to administration. Multan, Brahmanabad, Sehwan were brought under a new order. But this order was different. It wasn't built on fear, it was built on fairness. Muslims were allowed mosques, Hindus kept their temples, Jain monks walked free, the jizya tax was lowered. Governors were appointed from among locals, even Brahmins were invited to the courts. People expected tyranny, They received tolerance. Qasim didn't just bring an army, he brought a vision of coexistence. The people of Sindh started calling him Amir-e-Adil, the Prince of Justice. For many, Islam wasn't introduced by the sword, but by the dignity of Muhammad bin Qasim's rule. In every city he entered, the soil grew softer and the people lifted their heads a little higher. If you want to hear more untold stories like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel.
Part 5, the silent end.
But power often fears righteousness. When Qasim's mentor Al-Hajjaj died, enemies in the caliph's court began to whisper. They painted Qasim's growing respect as a threat to the throne. Orders were issued, bring him back in chains. He was recalled, imprisoned, and, despite his loyalty, killed in silence. He died without resistance. No cries, no rebellion. Just a soft smile. He had done what he came to do. But though Muhammad bin Qasim was buried in chains, his legacy broke free. The name he left behind became eternal. He had conquered Sindh, but more importantly, he had conquered hearts. And so history remembers him not as a tyrant, but as the one who opened the gateway of Islam to the subcontinent. Even today, the winds of Multan, the silence of Dabal, and the echoes of the Indus whisper his name. To never miss stories like this, hit the bell icon and stay tuned for more legends of words and warriors.
من